I kind of ended the last one before I finished doing the walkway out to her swing. Another one. I just started putting this bed in, partly because it's so hard to mow around the tree stump that's under that big rock. And I needed more bed space in the sun. So I've moved a few strays in here. Here is some more bee balm, some monarda that got knocked loose when I was weeding. There's a stray peony, bowl of beauty. Yes, I already have one. This kind of scruffy looking guy with the dark green leaves is a hellebore that I got for one of the plants at her funeral back in early March. I got that because the other name for them is Lenten rose, and they bloom, as you can tell by the name, around Lent. They bloom early. So I was hoping to get something that might bloom by the first week of March, at least. This little bag, which are superb for starting perennials in, is because they can be very slow. This is columbine, and it looks like some sheep sorrel and dandelion, so edible. And Daniel used his little go-kart, as I call it, to haul the bags out here for me the last trip to Home Depot because it's a lot to carry. I got as much as I wanted, and then the guy that was loading it for me said, you know, these torn bags are half price, so I'm like, throw them on. And I have 3 25-gallon pots set up over there. I'm going to put squash in them, at least zucchini and yellow crookneck, because it's just so hard to grow anything out in the field here because it's difficult to dig in, and then there's all the grass thanks to that hay. Now I want to get a look at over here. Never plan on planting a lot of stuff before you have knee surgery. I didn't think it would get this weedy this fast, and it's gotten out of control. But here is a purple asparagus, and it's 2 years old this year. I didn't pick any of it because I want it to still grow, but you can barely see, but in the background here behind it, there's another one putting up a flower spike. Then I can get them marked off, and we can get in here and weed whack this and get another start on it. My garlic over here, surrounded by grass, but it is garlic. It's looking pretty happy. It's had a happy spring with all this warm weather and some rain, which has been a blessing, so I don't have to water extra weeds. And here is a former swimming pool for the dogs, and you can see the spearmint coming up in there, and in the background the tall sticks that are left there from a Joe Pye weed, which smells like vanilla, and the bees absolutely love it. They'll land on it and like knock it right over. The bumbles will. They're heavy. They can't help it. And it pops back up. And here's a very happy Canada thistle. It's not that I want to make them happy. Just at the moment, I can't prevent them from being happy. So we're going to bother to walk all the way out here to the tree yard because I want to show off my other lilac tree. This one didn't bloom, but, I'm okay with that. The dogwood finally had like half a dozen blossoms on it. This red bud that also got eaten by the deer the same winter has not bloomed yet. And every year I keep telling it better put out some leaves and some flowers or it's going to be a tomato steak. The Look at that. Yellow twig dogwood, I think it's called. Or it's a type of willow, but the leaves look just like dogwood. It's getting ready to put on some nice white flowers, and it's fragrant. Speaking of white flowers, my hydrangeas from Arbor Day Foundation, and of course they were the ones you get for a donation, so I call them toothbrush trees, but they're popping out there. And here is one that I got on the side of the road. That's a little oak tree, putting out its little leaves. And here is another one, another lilac. It didn't bloom, but the first spring that I had it, I put it right outdoors. It was sitting outdoors at the center, but it got frostbitten and died back. This, my little pride and joy, there's two of them in there, although one of them's got multiple stems. This is a Beauty of Moscow lilac. If you get a chance to plant one, you really should consider this. The buds are kind of an apple blossom, pink and white, and then they open white like this. Very fragrant, as all lilacs are pretty much. But yeah, it's a happy little thing. And my pathways are going to rack and ruin. I'm going to have to figure out some way of cutting them or borrow Daniel's weed whacker. He won't weed whack because he's afraid of hitting my plants. But without Ari, I don't have the constant supply of excess cardboard to put down. Here is my little Honeycrisp apple. It had some blossoms, but I'm not sure if it's going to set any fruit. Here's a couple of seedling apples, I call them. That's what happens when you save apple seeds and grow them. And a bunch of echinacea and some random little fern. So I'll pop those into some spots where I want flowers but don't want to have to take care of them. And there is a little dogwood that came from Arbor Day. An oak tree, I believe this is a red oak, but don't quote me. And this little guy is a pin oak. The leaves aren't as obvious when they're babies, but they're very deeply cut, deeply incised. And another oak whose tag I'm not going to go digging for at the moment. Hawthorn. And another seedling apple. The raspberry's getting ready to blossom, regardless of the weed situation. And this is my oldest seedling apple. It's, how old are you? 4 years now? Maybe 5? I planted it in the fall of 2020. So 21, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4. And behind it is, what's your name? I believe this one's a gala that I got from Arbor Day. This happy little thing is a river birch. And the witch hazel, which is always bushy and enthusiastic, but I haven't gotten those little flowers yet. They get little flowers very early in the spring or late winter. Elecampane. Eventually I'll have a place where I can turn them loose, but for now they grow in a bin. That's harvested for the root every couple of years. Use it to make cough syrup. A poplar tree that was a bonus. It was in a nursery pot with something else. That's kind of a joke. People treat them as trash. They're kind of a soft wood, and they're not real stable to have them close to your house. There is a black walnut tree next to the big mama apple tree, who bloomed like crazy this year. And here is my Wolf River apple, and you can see here where the blossoms were. If all of those formed apples, I'll have to thin them out. So, some more oak trees waking up. I'm hoping this year to come up with a solution where I can plant them out, not in the tree yard anymore, in the ground. There's another one. And here is another viburnum. This one should be edible. The one in the flower bed is kind of questionable. Here's her sister. And who are you popping out at me? These are elderberry. There's 2 of them in here. I need to put them in the ground. Here's the bigger of the 2 river birches. Out here in the sun, you can see the bark is distinctive. It's smooth, almost glossy, and kind of a reddish brown. Here's a mountain ash, also from Arbor Day, also kind of needing to get put in the ground. The pear tree that bloomed so heroically this spring. I'm hoping to see some pears. According to what I looked up, the Ayers variety at least is self-fertile. And my little Nanking cherry bush flowered quite nicely, so I'm hoping to see some fruits on that too. And look at the happy little mushrooms going on. The button bush was happy, even with sharing a pot with my violets that I started from seed. I like to let them get kind of big before I put them out anyplace. Here is another viburnum. Chicago Luster Viburnum. Never mind, I'm not going to read that. I just love them. They're so versatile. Look at this. Pink Lady has 1 blossom left for us to look at. She bloomed a little later than the other apple trees, so I'm hoping everybody got pollinated. And got a nice crop of whatever these are coming in. Here's another bin that I'll be able to, fabric pot, grow bag, that I'll be able to use for some food crops. And this big girl is a crab apple called Prairie Fire. And I was hoping I'd get a blossom on because she's over 3 feet tall. She's in a bag, so it makes her look taller, but she's over 3 feet tall. And what's that at her feet? Oh, another seedling apple tree. I just stick them everywhere. And then I pick them out and transplant them into something better when I see how many of them come up. The nettles are really happy. They're having a good spring. I'll probably take another cutting off from there pretty soon. I got my rose gloves out and washed and oiled. And here are the potatoes that sprouted under my sister's cabinet. And more of the fabric pots. They come in a couple of different sizes. I ordered 15s and 25s. This is another 25. But depending on what you're going to put it in and put into it and for how long, that's kind of how you pick the size. But if you want to start your own seeds and you're starting perennials, I strongly recommend those little fabric pots at least. All right. Good night, everybody. Get out and hug a tree sometime.